And the way this works is I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. John, my producer, will answer any questions you type in. So in the 24 minutes, type in any health question you have. John, my producer, will read me the question at the end of 24 minutes, or questions. I will then talk another 24 minutes, and John will read me the questions again. So this is your chance to get your health questions answered. And we all have health questions, so this is a great opportunity to do that. So share this information with all your friends. Let them know we're live right now, and we'll go from there. So, John, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. We can start. All right. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. Glad you're with me today. So last week and the week before, we did shows on holistic versus traditional medicine and the different approaches that we take versus traditional medicine. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. My approach is that let's try to do both to try to get the best results possible. So last week we talked about how doctors are dropping out like crazy from the healthcare field, and we're looking at about 6,000 to 10,000 doctor shortage in the next 10 years. So today I'm going to talk about why we want to consider incorporating holistic healthcare and the cost effect of it. And then next week, if I still have enough information, I may do another show, and we're going to talk about the lifestyle, the life quantity and quality that's added when you use holistic. So whether it's shortage of doctors, whether it's you're going to save a ton of money, whether you're going to live longer and have less problems, all of these point to one simple answer. Let's start including what we know is documented, proven facts on holistic healthcare versus ordinary healthcare. I don't see a downside at all. I wish I could, because I'd give you both sides, but I don't see it. So holistic healthcare, sometimes called integrative medicine or complementary and alternative medicine. I don't like that. I don't like that one. Can provide significant cost savings over traditional care, particularly in long-term expenditures. So let's talk about the facts. Just the facts, ma'am, if you're old enough to remember that. Per patient savings, estimated cost savings range from $1,300 to $3,500 per patient per episode of healthcare. So right off the bat, we're going to save at least $1,300. I think the numbers are much higher than that, but I'm going to go with what the stats are here. Reduce prescription costs. We can reduce the cost of prescriptions up to 48 to 61% by using alternative healthcare. I had a patient say the other day, they wanted my Dr. Joe's nitric oxide support, helps lower blood pressure. And they said, well, I can't afford to do that because I'm spending so much money on prescriptions. And he's spending hundreds of dollars a month on prescriptions. I said, nitric oxide is about $50. Yeah, but I'm spending hundreds of dollars on prescriptions. I said, what if we did some lifestyle changes, change your diet, start eating better food, and you'd have more money in your pocket, and then maybe we can get you well enough so that you don't need to take the prescriptions. That's my goal all the time. And he said, I never thought of it like that before. We're so hell-bent on this, we have to take prescriptions. We do, sometimes we do. But why don't we start incorporating this alternative healthcare in there? You can save up to 61% on your prescriptions. Lower treatment costs. Systemic review found that natural healthcare products can reduce costs by 73% compared to conventional treatments. I would love to get a 73% raise, wouldn't you? Well, that's one way to do it. Programs centered around naturopathic care estimated cut costs of chronic and stress-related illnesses by about 40%. Again, I'm just throwing numbers out at you, but all of them are massive financial savings. Hospitalizations reduced by about 43%. Emergency room visits reduced by about 55%. Surgical avoidance, things like chiropractic care, can prevent surgical costs. I did a survey. By the way, if anybody works in the workers' comp world for companies, reach out to me. I'll send you this protocol I've put together. That minimum savings if you just treated musculoskeletal problems with chiropractic versus traditional medicine. Minimum savings 30%. So if you work for a huge company, how much money is 30% of the money you're spending on workers' comp? And that's all workers' comp cases. If you just use musculoskeletal cases with chiropractic care. Then we start incorporating nutrition. Then we start incorporating lifestyle changes. Up to 70% savings on workers' comp. Isn't that crazy how much money the companies can save, which they have more money to spend on their employees or put to profits or whatever they want to do with it, and reduce the risk of lawsuits? It's Pretty simple. Return on investment. How much money would we save, would we make if we started investing in holistic healthcare? Reported savings of $2.10 up to $8.20 for every dollar spent. For every dollar spent, you're going to save $8. I don't know what else to tell you. We're going to get into the main topic here really soon. Don't worry about it. But I don't know how else to spin this for you. Productivity gains, fewer days lost of work, and roughly $1,024 per person you'd save when when you add in absenteeism. America's total out-of-pocket spending on complementary practitioners is roughly 30% of what we spend on conventional physicians. So we're spending 1/3 of what we spend on holistic healthcare versus conventional. We're saving, in some cases, up to 70% on time lost from work, prescriptions, cost of treatment. So why don't we do that? Spending on natural supplements is about 25% of what is spent on prescription drugs, on out-of-pocket prescription drugs, not even counting what the insurance companies cover. 25%, so 75% savings right there. So I know I threw a lot of numbers out at you, but the bottom line is this. If we start taking care of our health, if we incorporate things like chiropractic, nutrition, naturopathy, movement therapy, lifestyle changes, supplements, the cost savings are astronomical. What do you usually hear? The cost is astronomical. I'm telling you here that the cost savings are astronomical. Why wouldn't you do it? I want you to. I want you to consider doing that. So our main topic today is natural or traditional medicine versus holistic, and the different approaches that we take. Now, in the past, we talked about high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, acid reflux, depression, arthritis, obesity, headaches, allergies, asthma, autoimmune conditions, thyroid conditions. All of these shows, and hundreds, probably thousands of hours of other shows, are on my website, drjoe.com. If you scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, one says The Dr. Joe Show. And that's a show that I do on radio, and we take callers. And the other one is called the podcast. And you could listen to any of the shows we've done. We have thousands of hours archived there. So you can go back and say, okay, well, there's a topic I'm interested in. That sounds interesting. I had a consultant talk to me once, years and years ago, when I first got into radio and television and podcasts and things like that. And he said, Joe, you should be charging people subscriptions to have access to this unbelievable life-changing information. Money-saving, life-changing, health-improving information. You're giving it away for free. You're an idiot. I said, well, I think people need to hear this. And that was my statement. And that's it. And I don't want to have anybody not have access to this because of finances. So all my shows are there. The podcast, Dr. Joe for the Health of It. Hundreds of hours there. Dr. Joe for the Health of It. The podcast is then put on YouTube so you can see my pretty face. That's free. The podcast, of course, is no charge. So really take advantage of this opportunity. If you have any health questions, you can always email me through my website, drjoe.com, and I'm happy to answer your questions for you as well. So you have all this access. And social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. We post twice a day. We give you health tips. We even do them in Spanish now. I don't know what else I can give you, folks. I want to give you the information because I don't want people suffering and dying. I saw my mother die from a botched knee surgery. I saw my father die because they gave him medication that should have never been given to somebody who had a heart condition, and it killed him. Yeah, I'm a little passionate about this, and I don't want you falling into that trap. All right, so let's talk about chronic pain, and we're going to talk about traditional versus holistic. So chronic pain, and I'm board certified in pain management, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, opioids, injections, and that's kind of how it's handled. And when it comes to spinal injections, you can do 3, in theory, in a lifetime in a certain area, because then you start to develop osteoporosis, and the bones can weaken and fracture. So many cases go the pain management route, and that's a pretty new field of healthcare, field of medicine, pain management. But the key word there is management, pain management, not pain treatment, pain management. How can we get this patient just a little under control? Improve their life just a little bit. That's pain management. And so many patients go to pain management docs, because I am one, the traditional ones. They get their injections, they get their drugs, and then the docs will call me up and say, hey, man, Joe, we're stuck. We gave Bob 3 injections. We tried the physical therapy. We tried the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, tried the opioids. We can't give him any more drugs. We can't give him any more injections. Will you look at them? They send them over to us, and in most cases, not all, can't say we cure everybody. In most cases, the patients get very angry. And they get angry because they didn't start with us. Why didn't somebody tell me to start with you guys? I would have seen better results. Had a patient, I talked about this last week, and he came in, and when he first came in, he could lift his arm up like he's waving, like the Queen wave. That's how far he could lift his shoulder up. And he said, I didn't see him in a few visits. He's seen one of my other doctors. And I see him the other day in the office, and he says, hey, watch this. And he puts his arm up, and he lifts his arm totally up over his head, total range of motion in his shoulder. He said, 2 doctors told me I need shoulder surgery. There's nothing else I can do. He says, I came to you guys, you did chiropractic care, you did acoustic wave therapy on me, broke up the scar tissue, did cold laser. He said, I have total range of motion back in my shoulder. And he was mad, and jokingly. He says, I'm mad I didn't come see you sooner. So at pain management, we try to cover up the pain. From our standpoint, from a holistic standpoint, we try to find out why you have pain. That's a unique twist in healthcare. Why do you have a problem? Why do I have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, anxiety, depression, sciatica, headaches? We try to get to the cause of the problem, not just treat the symptoms. So what would we do? You come in with chronic pain to us. We do structural alignment. We see if there's any bones out of place. We put them back in place. If a bone is out of place, pinching a nerve and it hurts, what's the most logical thing to do? Put it back in place, take the pressure off the nerve, right? Pretty simple. Now, if you do come see us, when you come see us, I should say, don't expect it to go away in one visit. I've had patients have unrealistic expectations. Well, I came to you guys twice. I still have headaches. You've had the problem for 40 years. You have advanced arthritis, ruptured discs, bulging discs. You have a horrible diet. You're drinking alcohol. You're doing caffeine. It's not going to go away right away. But I do tell my patients this. If you don't fix it, it's going to get worse. It's just that simple. If you have a chronic condition, it's just going to get worse unless you fix it. So we can do an anti-inflammatory nutritional protocol. We get you on a good diet for pain. Had a patient last week. He was doing great. Missed a few appointments. Did some yard work. Hunched over, coming into the pain, coming in the office, holding his back. Oh, my God, it's so much worse. It's so much worse. I said, no, you stopped your care. It's your fault. He goes, I know. You're right. You told me this. I said, we do a nutrition workup on you. He said, yeah. I said, what'd you eat this weekend? Oh, this weekend was a party. It's not what I asked. What did you eat this weekend? And he proceeded to tell me he ate things that are very inflammatory. I said, that is contributing to your pain increase. Let's get you back on a protocol. Let's get you on a supplement, Super Green Essential Source, turmeric. I got him an extra double dose of turmeric. I got him on nitric oxide to increase circulation, and he should be fine. So how many people have ever told you, whatever your health condition is, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, brain fog, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, digestive issues, how many people have ever been told, let's look at your diet? Let's look at the microbiome in your colon to see if that's affecting your digestive system. Of course it is. Let's look at some supplementation to bring down the inflammation to increase circulation. I've been in practice a long time. Never has a patient come in my office and said, this is what my other doctors have told me. Now, I don't do drugs. I don't do injections. If you need drugs and injections, I will personally refer you to doctors who are very good at that. I'm not. They refer to me and they say, okay, go see Joe. Let's get structural realignment. Let's get an anti-inflammatory diet. Let's get some supplements, get some nitric oxide in the body, and really see some changes there. We use red light therapy to bring down the inflammation. Exercise, chiropractic care, acoustic wave therapy. Acoustic wave therapy is phenomenal. It's a machine we have. It sends really fast impulses into the joint, breaks up scar tissue, increases circulation, and recruits stem cells into the area. We do that in conjunction with chiropractic care, in conjunction with nutrition, in conjunction with supplement protocols, and that's when we see the best results. So it's not just holistic care. What part of holistic care? Is there naturopathy? Is there homeopathics? Is it supplements? Is it chiropractic? Is it nutrition? Is it fixing the gut? Is it prebiotics, probiotics? All of that fits into this holistic care world, and in our office, we do almost all of it. So it's a one-stop shop. So if you have a health issue, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, and you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, Go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right now. We can usually get you in within 24 business hours to come see us. We leave appointments open specifically for new patients. And normally the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I can't make it easier for you, folks, unless I came to your house, which I'm not going to do. But let's find out what's the cause. Let's look at the x-rays. Let's look at your nutritional protocol and say, okay, what's going to be the best route? Is it chiropractic? Is it traditional medicine? Is it injections? Is it medication? Is it a gastroenterologist? Is it a psychiatrist? I don't know. Let's do that first visit and find out what's going to be the best course of treatment for you. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I wish I could find something to play devil's advocate and say, you know what, don't do this, do that. I can't. I've spent 40 years. I can't. No matter what your condition is, you're probably going to see some or total benefit from spinal realignment, digestive work, nutrition. That's it. May not be the only answer, but it's probably a missing link in your healthcare. So drjoe.com. So what we're talking about today, if you're just joining us, we're talking about traditional versus holistic healthcare on different healthcare issues, different healthcare problems. So let's talk about high cholesterol, because the number one drug I see patients come to see us for is high blood pressure, which we covered 2 shows ago. And it's all archived. It's archived in the podcast of Dr. Joe for the health of it. It's archived on my website. It's archived on the YouTube channel. So you can go back and listen to that. That was 2 weeks ago. Cholesterol is the number 2 medication. Cholesterol is kind of tied with blood sugar. And blood sugar, ironically, is so easy to manage in almost every case with diet and supplements. We have a supplement called Dr. Joe's Glucose Guard, and it's phenomenal. It has berberine, has cinnamon. You can use vinegar to stabilize blood sugar. There's so many things you can do. Right there, in 30 seconds, 10 seconds, I just gave you 3 things that you're not doing right now to stabilize your blood sugar. Berberine, Chilan, cinnamon, and vinegar. It's a lot more, but if you did just that, oh my gosh, what would be amazing? It would be amazing to watch the blood sugar stabilize. Then eat fiber, cut out the sugar, fix the digestive system. There's a ton of things we can do. But just berberine, just cinnamon, just vinegar are 3 amazing things that help stabilize blood sugar naturally. Even if you have type 1 diabetes, you still want to stabilize the blood sugar. Type 2 is usually easy to manage. All right, so cholesterol. Traditionally, what do? We give you statins. Statins work wonders. They bring down cholesterol. Works great. Perfect. Side effects. The same pathway that produces cholesterol produces something called coenzyme Q10, CoQ10. And if you're taking statin drugs, your body's not producing normal amounts of CoQ10. CoQ10 is necessary to get into the mitochondria of the cell. In the cell, there's a little part of the cell called the mitochondria. And the mitochondria generates electricity. We're not plugged into the wall. We've got to generate our own electricity. A brain cell can have up to 2 million mitochondria per cell. And if you're taking statin drugs, you're reducing your body's ability to produce CoQ10, which is essentially gasoline for that engine. So what happens now? We get tired. Our muscles ache. We get brain fog. And you need CoQ10 not just for your biceps and your triceps. How about for your heart? Heart's a muscle. Sex organs are a muscle. Blood vessels are muscles. Colon is a muscle. And so we need these things not just for your biceps and your triceps. You need it to have the body function normally. So if you're on statin drugs, I'm begging you, please get on something called CoQ10. On my website, drjoe.com, it's called CardioQ. It's CoQ10. Go to the website. If you're on statin drugs, take CardioQ every day for the rest of your life. Or, another approach, what if we can reduce the cholesterol naturally? There's a novel idea. Increase your fiber. Fiber helps push food through the colon, but also as your bile is produced and it drops, you squirt bile into the small intestine. That's where a lot of recycled cholesterol is. The fiber wraps around that and carries it out. Dr. Joe's omega-3 fatty acids, wonderful for so many different things. Brain function, inflammation, but also help to lower cholesterol. Reduce the sugar, exercise, improve liver function. We have something called Daily Purify. Daily Purify helps clean out the liver. So Super Greens, Essential Source, Daily Purify, these are all things that help clean out the liver. The omega-3 fatty acids, So important for stabilizing and getting that cholesterol down. Dr. Joe's Cardio Q, that's the CoQ10 that you need. Glutathione is so important for liver function. There's 6 supplements right there. And if you did that, it's probably still less than a cup of coffee. I was out with a friend of mine the other day, and she loves coffee. So she said, let's stop for coffee. I said, okay. So we went into the big chain that everybody knows about, and it was like $7 or $8 for a cup of coffee. I know it had some foam in it or something like that. I don't know what the heck it was. And I thought, wow. And then we went to a little independent coffee shop, and she said, ooh, I can go for another cup of coffee. It's like 3 hours later. She had another cup of coffee, another $7, $8. Throw a tip in there, $9, whatever. So right there was almost $20 spent on coffee. All the supplements I talked about, Super Green, Essential Source, Daily Purify, Glutathione, omega-3 fatty acids, not even close to that $20. And you have all these health benefits from it. How cool is that? So if you change your diet, you're going to save so much money. If you start using alternative health care, you're going to save so much money that you can easily afford a vacation, a couple of house payments, and your supplements. Why wouldn't you do that? Up to 70% savings on chronic diseases. We have to treat chronic diseases. RFK Jr. was talking about this a while ago, actually. He said we spend about over $4 trillion in healthcare. More money than we spend on military. By far, like 2 or 3 times the amount of money we spend on healthcare on military. We're one of the sickest nations in the world. We spend more money per person than anyone else in the world. And he said, too, we have the answers. It's not like, well, there's nothing else we can do. Of course we have the answers. Now, I'm not against medicine. Please understand that. But I want to give you the tools that you need to try to get to the cause of your healthcare problems and not just treat the symptoms. And when it comes to high cholesterol, fixing the problem. One of the problems with cholesterol is that you release cholesterol, goes out into the body. Body uses it. Use it for sex hormones, use it for cell walls, does a lot of things. And what happens then is it gets to be recycled back into the liver. After recycling bins, so to speak, are clogged up, the cholesterol stays in the blood. So cleaning out the liver can be very helpful. And in our supplement Daily Purify, we have several different herbs like milk thistle that can help break down fat in the liver and clean it up. Now, it's not going to be an end-all, be-all, cure-all. It's not a magic bullet. But we have so many options for you. All right. Getting off on a tangent here. Osteoporosis. If somebody has osteoporosis, traditionally we give you medication to make the bone thicker. In many cases, it makes the outside of the bone thicker, but it doesn't make the inside of the bone thicker. So it's kind of like a burnt marshmallow. It's crispy on the outside, still mushy on the inside. And it does reduce your risk of fracture, but minimally. It's really not like this great thing that's going to build these massive bones again. So what would we do from a traditional standpoint? Along with if you want to do the drugs, that's fine. Along with the drugs, weight-bearing exercise, vitamin D3 with K2. If you're doing a vitamin D right now, D3, don't do D2, by the way, D3, you want to make sure it has vitamin K2 with it. Because every day patients come in and say, Dr. Joe, I heard you on the radio, I heard you on television, podcast, whatever it was, and I heard you say you need to do vitamin D3, so I went out and bought some vitamin D3. I said, you only heard half what I said. You have to have vitamin D3 with vitamin K2. Because one of the things vitamin D does, it takes calcium from your blood and brings it into your bones. K2 takes it from your bones and takes it from the blood, D3 from the food into the blood, K2 from the blood into the bones. You need K2 with the D3 or else you have a tendency to build up calcium inside your blood vessels. And it's not going into the bone, it's going to the blood vessel. So double whammy. Bones don't get it. You don't need it in the blood vessels. All right, folks, I got to go to break. I'm just looking at the clock here. If you have any health questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com. I'm happy to answer your questions for you because I want to be your doctor. I want to help get to the cause of your healthcare problems and not just treat the symptoms. If you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. You want to order supplements, drjoe.com in the store section. And then follow me on social media. We post twice a day. If you're listening to this, obviously you like it. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Man, I got so much more to cover. We need about 10 more hours of this. You have any questions for me, or do we move on?
Is vegan pizza okay?
No. God, I hate to say that. I love vegan pizza. Uh, it's still made with gluten. It's made with wheat, high gluten wheat. The wheat in the United States, especially, is sprayed with glyphosate in most cases, weed killer, and it affects the microbiome. It kills off good bacteria. The vegan cheeses still aren't healthy. They're healthier than regular cheese. So if the question is it good for you? No. If the question is it better than regular pizza? The answer is yes. And I love vegan pizza. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a place in the Atlanta area. It's called Peace, Love, and Pizza. And they have a gluten-free crust made with cauliflower, and it's vegan. And you can do all vegetables, and it ain't cheap. When I grew up, I remember a pizza, and I guess that's how old I am, $3, maybe $5 for a whole large pizza with cheese. And now, what was it? I saw the gluten-free one, $28 or something like that. Crazy. So it's better than regular pizza, but it's not healthy. No. What else, John?
Does the body respond differently between sugary foods and sugary drinks? Would there be differences between blood sugar and weight gain?
Well, it depends what you mean by sugary food. Sugary foods, meaning like cookies and donuts and Twinkies, it's the same as drinking sugar. Sugary foods like fruit acts very differently because fruit has phytonutrients in it, has fiber in it, pushes the sugar through the colon. You get a slow release of energy, slow release of the sugar. So it depends what type of sugary food you mean. If I'm eating something that has a lot of fiber in it with sugar, like a piece of fruit, that's fine. Eat as much as you want. If I'm eating just a processed food, it's going to spike the blood sugar just like a sugary drink. And don't be fooled by something called agave nectar. Agave nectar, it's sold as not spiking blood sugar. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't spike blood sugar because it's mostly fructose. It's about 85% fructose. The fructose has to be converted into glucose in your liver. As the fructose converts into glucose, it creates uric acid, and uric acid gets in your joints, and it hurts. And as a pain management expert, I want my patient out of pain, not in pain. But it doesn't spike the blood sugar right away because the fructose has to be converted into glucose. It spikes the blood sugar later on. And then in the process, it creates uric acid. Uric acid gets into joints. Uric acid prevents nitric oxide production being done properly, lowers your body's ability to lower blood pressure, increase circulation, can turn into fatty liver. So, yeah, stay away from agave nectar too and fructose. If you want something sweet, use stevia. I have tea here today. I have fennel. I bought some fennel seeds. I have mortar and pestle. I just ground them up. It took about 30 seconds while I was boiling the water. I put the water in there. I added some stevia to it, and that's my tea for the day. So if you want something sweet, a drink or food, use stevia or Lohan or xylitol or monk fruit. So, what else, John?
Can you explain the similarities and differences between carbs and starches?
Well, yeah, starches are bigger than carbs, kind of. It depends. It depends on the structure. But if I eat a starch, let's say I eat a potato, okay? If I eat a potato, I cook it and I put it in the refrigerator overnight, I created something called a resistant starch. The resistant starch, I'm going to absorb about 40% less of that than if I'm going to do a potato that's freshly baked. Carbohydrate is basically a sugar. It's a different type of sugar, okay? There's called monosaccharides, which are just one sugar molecule, and then polysaccharides. And so the carbohydrates fall into the polysaccharide group. So starches can have fibers with them, and it could have other nutrients with it, where traditionally, again, there's a crossover here. The carbohydrates are just going to be sugar, is what we're looking at there. So if you're going to do whole foods, starches, pasta even, rice, potatoes, you want to cook it, cool it overnight, you create a resistant starch, 40% of it is not going to be absorbed and actually feeds the good bacteria. If you're going to do a simple carbohydrate like breads or cookies or cakes, processed, low fiber, that's not the way you want to go. So hopefully that answers your question. What else, John?
My doctor doesn't prescribe a colonoscopy. Should I find a new one?
No, keep him. It's one of the best doctors I ever heard of. I am not a fan of colonoscopies. Now, I understand the medical protocol is that you can do so many other things that are just as good as a colonoscopy, or close to being as good. And if you're high risk, then you can consider a colonoscopy. There's a company, I just recently did a scan with them, Prenuvo. I have no relationship with them. I don't get paid by them. And Prenuvo is a full body scan. They're not cheap. They're about $2,000 to $3,000. But it tested everything from head to toe. And then I sat down with the doctor for about 20 minutes. They sent me the report, and I set up a meeting with the doctor. And we talked for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and he went over every single finding on my Prenuvo scan, Prenuvo, and loved it. The good news was, he says, Joe, at your age, I see not one marker for cancer anywhere. You're very low risk, no reason to do a colonoscopy. Now, he said, if you were high risk and we found some issues, I might consider a colonoscopy. But at this point, you don't need one. Because there is a risk. Anytime you go under anesthesia, there's a risk. And in the colonoscopy, if they tear your colon, very rare. But if they tear your colon, it can be very, very serious, and in very rare cases, even deadly. So I like a Prenuvo scan instead. Virtual imaging does similar scans. Prenuvo, I find, is so much more in depth. And I was really impressed with their findings. He said you have no risk of osteoporosis, no risk of cancer, no risk of heart disease at this point. He said scan every 5 years is a good idea, but I walked out of there going, wow, this is really cool. It did find some orthopedic problems. I have a fracture in my low back. They found that. They talked about it. I understand. My shoulders from being a chiropractor for 40 years are showing some wear and tear. But it was just amazing. Fascinating. So I would rather go get a Prenuvo scan. You know what? Spend a couple of bucks. I grew up really poor. I don't spend money on anything unnecessary, but I can't imagine anything more important than my health. And if you're high risk, then you can consider further things. You do Cologuard for colon cancer, and that's how you find out if you're high risk. If you're high risk, you could always go for that, the colonoscopy. But if you're low to moderate risk, a smart doctor is going to say, let's do a Cologuard, let's do a scan, and let's monitor and see how things go. That's what I'd rather see you do. What else?
That's all.
Oh, wow. That was easy. Okay, good. All right, a little bit of tea, and we'll get rocking again. Oh, by the way, if you get a Prenuvo, send me an email through the website, drjoe.com. I'll send you a code. They give you like $400 off if you use a code that they gave me. And I get nothing from it. All right, well, osteoporosis. There we were. All right, ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you just joined us, welcome. If you stayed with me, thank you. I appreciate that because I know everybody's really busy. So we're talking today about traditional healthcare versus holistic healthcare. And there's nothing wrong with either one of them. Sometimes you need both. But many times when you start incorporating the holistic healthcare, costs drop exponentially, not just dramatically, exponentially. And the results are oftentimes much better. Now, I'm not against drugs. I'm not against surgery. Please understand that. I think drugs are fascinating in many cases. I think surgery and medical treatment is fascinating in many cases and necessary. But we need to start incorporating this holistic approach. And we're seeing that happen. We're seeing people like RFK Jr. coming in and saying, okay, we're going to change the food pyramid. Now, I don't agree with everything he says, but I love where we're going with it. And that's what matters to me. Oh, that's called being an adult, by the way. When you're an adult, you can talk to somebody and not agree with everything they say and still not get angry, not get keyboard courage on the internet and say you're an idiot, you're a jerk, because I've seen people do that to people that they don't agree with. If you don't agree with somebody, don't follow them on social media. Or listen to them and say, oh, that's an interesting point, but this now better validates my point. No need to be a jerk. I don't understand that whole thing. So what we're talking about today is trying to get to the cause of the problems. And we're seeing the shift. I know that they're interviewing somebody for the new Surgeon General who's a medical doctor who is kind of holistically leaning. And then somebody called into one of my shows and said, well, she talks to trees. I don't know what that meant. I said, okay, maybe she talks to trees. So I don't know. Does that mean she's an idiot? Does that mean she's crazy? I don't know. I don't know anything about this person, but I do like the fact that we're at least looking in this direction. And I don't know if she talks to trees or not. I have no idea. So that's what I like. And I don't have to agree with everybody to say that, okay, I can pick out the good stuff that they're saying and incorporate that into my life. So insomnia is a biggie. A lot of patients come to me with insomnia, sleep apnea. They now have things that you can implant surgically to help with sleep apnea. I see them on my patients on x-rays. I say, how do they work? They said, it worked pretty well. So it's a medical approach. Surgery. It's working pretty well. It's helping with sleep apnea. But then my question comes up, why do I have sleep apnea? Why do I snore? Not me. I don't snore from what I understand. But why does somebody snore? Well, let's look at it. Maybe they have a pinched nerve in their neck, and there's a nerve that goes to the neck into the throat, glossopharyngeal nerve, and maybe that's affecting their breathing. Maybe they have acid reflux. The stomach is pushed up against the diaphragm, and when they lay down, gravity isn't pulling the stomach down anymore, and so now the diaphragm can't move up and down. And they gasp for air. And that's the most common one that I see. And many times we adjust their stomach, pull their stomach away from the diaphragm. In many cases, the acid reflux goes away, the snoring stops, the sleep apnea stops. So in many cases, it's a physical problem, not a chemical problem. Had a patient come in with this implant the other day, and we were talking about it, and his stomach was pushed up against his diaphragm. And I said, we're going to pull your stomach away from the diaphragm, and hopefully that's going to let your diaphragm move up and down better. I'm going to adjust the fourth cervical nerve, because that's the nerve, the phrenic nerve that controls the diaphragm, and hopefully we'll fix this problem. And he smiles at me. He says, well, how am I going to know if it's fixed? Because I'm on this implant that prevents me from snoring. I went, that's a good point. How will I know he's better? Unless you remove the implant. So insomnia, sleeping pills, pretty much what we give people. My approach, balance your cortisol. I just did a cortisol test the other day. We can do it for you too, by the way. Very simple test. It's a saliva test. And we collect saliva from you, or you collect saliva from you throughout the day. And in the morning, your cortisol should be high. Cortisol wakes you up in the morning. Your adrenal glands release cortisol. Cortisol goes up. You're in great shape. Throughout the day, your cortisol should slowly, gradually drop down. And then by whatever sleep is, 9, 10 o'clock, cortisol should be at its lowest. Years ago, I did a cortisol test on myself. My cortisol was high throughout the day. What did that mean? I was stressed out. It was a crazy time in my life. I had a lot of things going on. Not much was good. And I was extremely stressed out. And my cortisol was just crazy. So I said, okay, I'm going to take this information, utilize it. How do I bring down my cortisol? Start meditating, start exercising, start eating the right foods. And so I even picked up my game better than what it was. And about 2 years later, I did a cortisol test again, and it had that perfect slope, the normal, starting high, drop down low. I just did one about 3 weeks ago. Cortisol is still the same. So I like lab tests because they can tell us what's going on so that you then get a little, get shaken a little bit and say, wow, I got to do something about this. And so that's why I like lab tests. So traditionally we give you sleeping pills, but if your cortisol is high throughout the day, you're not going to sleep very well. How about magnesium? Magnesium can help relax you. Magnesium does over 300 different things in the body. And so taking magnesium supplement, because most of us are deficient, probably a good idea. There's one on our website, drjoe.com. I take a little tiny scoop, probably 5 grams, and I add it to Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. I add 10 drops of D3 with K2. I add creatine. So I add 5 things into my shake. Creatine, magnesium, vitamin D3, Super Greens, and Essential Source. And then I get some coconut milk, almond milk, whatever's on sale. I don't do animal milk. I shake it up, and I drink it first thing in the morning. You should too. That's like the minimum starter kit 101 protocol for supplementation right there. Because the creatine helps build muscle mass. And as I get older, I'm losing my muscle mass. It's called sarcopenia. We all get it. Everyone gets it. And so you're going to lose muscle mass. Even bodybuilders, when they're in their 50s and 60s, many times they're not as built as they were when they were 20. Why? Sarcopenia. So creatine helps slow down the sarcopenia, but creatine also helps with brain function. And as we get older, I see it with many people in my practice, as they go into even just their 50s and 60s, the brain starts to deteriorate. So creatine does a lot of things to help that. Nitric oxide support opens up the blood vessels and increases circulation to everything. Your heart, your lungs, your sex organs, your brain. I take nitric oxide every day. You should too. Because nitric oxide opens up those blood vessels and helps lower blood pressure as well. My blood pressure is fine, but the nitric oxide just increases my circulation. Phenomenal. And I don't know why everyone doesn't do it. Now, if you have low blood pressure, don't take nitric oxide, Dr. Joe's nitric oxide. If you have normal or high blood pressure, Dr. Joe's nitric oxide should be fine. I take it every day. Now, when I do things like that, that helps me sleep. Because my body has energy throughout the day, and then in the evening when cortisol drops, I get tired. I go to sleep. Melatonin. People take melatonin to sleep. I don't like it. I don't recommend it. Because melatonin is a hormone, and melatonin not only helps you sleep, it protects the cells in the body. It protects those mitochondria. If you listen to me talk a while ago, mitochondria is a part of the cell that generates electricity. We need mitochondria. And one of the things melatonin does, we learned this during COVID, is that it protects the cells against oxidative stress or free radicals. Don't worry about the chemistry there. And that helps tremendously. And so melatonin, great, but when you start taking it as a supplement, your brain says, I got plenty of melatonin, I don't need to produce anymore. So now your natural production of melatonin drops, and it's really hard to jumpstart that again. I don't like the way I feel when I take melatonin. I've tried it already. I just don't like the way I feel. So if we can produce your natural melatonin, that's a better choice. Well, how do we produce increased melatonin? Melatonin comes from serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter. So I'm going backwards now. Melatonin is serotonin. Serotonin is produced in your gut. 95% of it is produced in your gut, and it comes from tryptophan. Tryptophan is an amino acid that combines with vitamin B6, creates a chemical called 5-HTP. 5-HTP becomes serotonin. Serotonin becomes melatonin. So what does that all mean? It goes back to what I was talking about in the stomach pushed up against the diaphragm in a sleep apnea. If your stomach is up against your diaphragm, you can't break proteins into amino acids properly. Protein looks like a ball of yarn under a microscope. So your stomach acids unravel that ball of yarn and chop it up into amino acids. The amino acid tryptophan combines with B6, assuming you have enough B vitamins, which is why you should take a B vitamin supplement every day, a methylated B complex. Make sure it's methylated. And so joins with B6, creates 5-HTP. 5-HTP becomes serotonin. Serotonin becomes melatonin. And now we're able to sleep better. So if you have heartburn, acid reflux, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, chances are it's affecting your sleep. And so if we pull the stomach away from the diaphragm, we get you on digestive enzymes. I take a digestive enzyme with every meal. You should too if you're over 30. And that's going to help break down the nutrients and break down the proteins. So now my digestive system is producing the serotonin to produce the melatonin. The stomach, if it's up against the diaphragm, we pull it back down. We take the stress off the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve controls the digestive system and also blood pressure. And now we fix the cause of the sleep issue instead of just covering it up with sleeping pills. How cool is that? Now, I know I did a lot of talking there when it came to the sleep issues, but bottom line is this. You got to fix the nervous system. You got to fix the digestive system. You got to fix the diet. You know, it's funny. No matter what condition you give me, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, sleep issues, high cholesterol, eczema, I'm going to cover next, ADD, ADHD, digestive disorders, you got to fix the nervous system. You got to fix the digestive system. You got to fix the diet. When I hear lecturers like me talk, I sit there and I go, all right, get to the point. What's the bottom line? Give me the bottom line. That's all I care about. Give me the bottom line. And the bottom line is nervous system, digestive system, and diet. And in our offices, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We can do telemedicine as well, or telehealth, I should call it. We see these cases every day. And we fix the nervous system, digestive system, and diet. So if you want to make an appointment to come see us, maybe you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain. That's the most common reason people come to us. But digestive issues is number 2. And then everything else, all these other things we talked about. Let's put together a protocol specifically for you. So you can go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com, book an appointment, come see us, let's do an evaluation. And I'm going to, as my Italian relatives would say, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Normally the first visit is $940. I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, consultation, x-rays, first treatment. That alone is way more than $299. Then on the follow-up visit, we're going to go over your x-rays and do a nutrition evaluation. Either one of those, more than $299. So we're doing this so I want to find out what's going to be the best course of treatment for you. I don't know. Is it chiropractic? Is it nutrition? Is it naturopath? Is it drugs? Is it surgery? Is it a gastroenterologist? Is it a male hormone doctor? I don't know. But let me be the captain of your ship. Let me kind of steer you into the direction you need to go in. Okay? So if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. Oh, by the way, we accept almost all insurances. Make your life easy. And if you're ever in a car accident, please, folks, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. You need to come see me immediately. You will get calls from scammers. They're called runners, ambulance chasers. Come see us. Because they're going to call you and say, oh, you know what? You need to go see Dr. John. You need to see Attorney Phil and whatever it is. I've had them already call up and they'll say to my patient, who very innocently answered the question, hey, this is Bob from your insurance company. Because they have a copy of a police report that they obtained illegally, by the way. And they'll say your insurance company, and you say, oh, Bob from whatever. It must be real. Hey, listen, I want to know if you've seen any doctors yet. Yes. Who have you seen? I've seen Dr. Joe Esposito. Oh, he called us. No kidding. He called us and told us to tell you to go see this other doctor and this other lawyer. Really? And patients can fall for that. Don't fall for it. No one will ever call you and tell you to go see a doctor or lawyer. If they do, it's a felony. I don't think you want to be treated or represented by a felon, do you? Especially in this case, because they're making money off you. So drjoe.com. You can book an appointment for car accidents. If we don't have a clinic near you, let us know. I'll try to find you a doctor in your area. But car accidents, folks, please come see us immediately. The insurance company's job is not pay you. And you see all these attorneys advertising. Many of them I've dealt with. Many of them are scammers. And they say this, but I do agree with this. The insurance company's job is to not pay you. Absolutely. So come see us. We'll help document your case. We'll get you to good doctors and good lawyers. And hopefully you'll get the best treatment, most importantly, and hopefully a good settlement. drjoe.com. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about traditional medicine versus holistic medicine on certain health issues and what to do about it, different approaches that we take. So I talked about this the other day on one of my shows, and my website, I got like 10 or 15 emails saying, send me the protocol for eczema or psoriasis. Any skin condition. Traditionally, if you have a skin condition, what do? We give you creams and lotions, maybe steroids, to try to calm down your immune system. Probably works. However, we need our immune system. So now we have a problem. Whenever I see a skin condition, I always think, I bet you, I'm not always right, but I bet you it's related to the liver and the digestive system. And I've seen countless skin conditions. When we clean up the liver and clean up the digestive system, the skin condition goes away. The simplest fix is giving up wheat and dairy products. Countless children have come to me over the years, and adults, with eczema and psoriasis. And I say, let's give up wheat and dairy and see what happens. And when we do, the problem goes away. Now, you may need more. You may need to do some liver cleansing like Dr. Joe's Daily Purify, glutathione. We may have that'll work on the liver. We may have to get the gut working, Dr. Joe's probiotics, high fiber diet. But many times just giving up wheat and dairy cleans up a lot of skin conditions. So we got to heal the gut. We got to remove the trigger foods. Certain foods are going to cause an inflammatory reaction in the gut. And the big 7 are alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. I call them the 7 deadly sins. Now, if I said alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, and you said, Dr. Joe, that's my whole diet. I can't live without alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener because there's nothing else to eat. I'll strongly disagree, respectfully and strongly disagree with you. There are plenty of foods to eat. You just don't know it. A while ago, I started dating this gal, and she's healthy, but she said, I don't know anything about a plant-based diet. She says, I eat chicken every day, and so started introducing her to these plant-based foods. And she said, oh my gosh, this is so easy and so quick and so inexpensive, and I feel great. Wow. I never looked at it like this before. And so made her life a lot easier, made my life a lot easier. The time we spent together was great because we followed my path. And I did all the cooking, most of the cooking, I should say. And if we went out to a restaurant, I didn't care what she ate. I just care what I ate. But when you introduce people to this healthy lifestyle, they lose their minds. Why didn't I do this sooner? How much money did I waste? How come my doctors never talked about this? And the answer is always, I don't know. I don't have that answer for you. But omega-3 fatty acids, very important for skin conditions as well because they help the liver as well as the brain. So cut out the wheat and the dairy. Let's get you on some probiotics. Super Green's an essential source. Of course, that's the minimum supplements everybody should be taking. Super Green essential source, D3 with K2, and glutathione. That's like the minimum supplements everybody should be taking. And they're all on the website, drjoe.com. And if you did just that, nothing else, just that, about $5 a day. So don't tell me you can't afford it. Because I know you're spending $5 on something else stupider than high-quality supplements. But if we clean up the gut, we clean up the liver, get the omega-3 fatty acids in there, detoxify the body, in many cases, those skin conditions improve. Sometimes totally go away. Now, I'm not saying don't go to your dermatologist. Let's work together with this to try to get the best results possible. Years ago, when I was a kid, shifting gears, I was a real troublemaker in school. And I was all over the place. Wired, high energy, just a troublemaker. Now, the problem was I was the second smartest person in my class. This girl, Jackie, was smarter than me. And one time we had a principal, Mr. Werns. I don't know if he's still alive or not. But he was the original Marlboro man. If you're old enough to remember Marlboro cigarettes, the guy, the cowboy, real manly stuff. They tried, because cigarettes used to be like a girly thing. And then they came around and said, oh, let's make it manly. And so men started smoking then. And he was the Marlboro man. So real well-built, handsome fella, just a man's man. And I remember Mr. Werns, this is back in the day when you can do stuff like this. He threw me up against the wall. I was student council president. I was one of the captains of the football team. Smart kid. He threw me up against the wall. He got right in my face. And he says, Esposito, I would throw you out of this bleep school if it wasn't for your bleeping grades. And I looked at him like a real wise guy that I was. I said, well, I guess you can't throw me out then, can you? And he kind of pushed me away and walked away. And I'll never forget it because I was smart, but I was a troublemaker. And then I thought, what if I was smart, not a troublemaker? And I didn't cause anything bad. I mean, I was just talked in class and stuff. I didn't, start riots or anything like that. I was just a wise guy, I guess. In New Jersey, you called a wise guy. And I started realizing when I got into graduate school, it was a lot of my digestive system. I had taken antibiotics as a child. And because back then, everything was antibiotics. I mean, if you were fat, if you were skinny, if you were ugly, if you were tall, if you were short, hey, take an antibiotic. Don't worry about it. And so I did a lot of antibiotics, so it killed off the good bacteria in my colon, and so I had what we call dysbiosis. Didn't have a term for it back then, but the bacteria in my colon were all off. So I started fixing my gut. I started pulling my stomach. I had somebody pull my stomach away from the diaphragm. And your stomach breaks proteins into amino acids. Amino acids become neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are chemicals in your brain that make your brain work. We said earlier, tryptophan becomes serotonin. Tyrosine becomes dopamine. Dopamine gives you pleasure. Dopamine becomes norepinephrine, gives you energy. And so once I fixed my gut, what I'm sure would have been called ADD. We didn't have a term for it back then. You were just a wise guy. Class clown, whatever it was. When we fixed the gut, now the brain is able to make the neurotransmitters. And I'll tell you this. I've treated a lot of ADD patients over my life. Hundreds. Countless. And we fix their gut. We take this incredible brain that these people have and laser focus it. And many, 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 many times, especially with children, patients will come in and say, so, I don't know. Jenny's doing much better than she was in school. And the teachers will say, well, did you put Jenny on drugs? You put her on, one of the drugs. And they say, no, we fixed her gut. Dr. Joe worked on her and her brain. And the teachers they always say the same thing. Whatever you did, keep doing it. Because I've never seen such a transformation for a child before. And so I'm not against drugs. If you need them, man, take them. But if we can fix the gut to fix the brain, holy cow. I got a seminar coming up to a group of doctors, and it's the gut-brain axis in traumatic brain injuries. When the brain is damaged, we can diagnose the heck out of it. Anybody can diagnose, neurologists technically should diagnose a traumatic brain injury, but what do you do about it? That's always my approach. What do we do about it? And so if we can get the brain fixed, I'm going to be speaking to these doctors all over the world on the gut-brain axis, and basically what I just taught you. So ADD people, number one, usually bad breath, burp a lot, gassy, ticklish. Because pain and ticklishness travel along what's called lateral spinal thalamic tract, going to the brain. And if the lateral spinal thalamic tract is just overwhelmed, that you touch them and they get ticklish. They're protecting their digestive system and their nervous system. So we pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. We get them on digestive enzymes if they're old enough and appropriate. We get them on super greens and essential source, omega-3 fatty acids. We get them on probiotics. And many times within days, we start to see changes. So ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it, we start to fix that and we see these dramatic changes. So omega-3 fatty acids, super greens, essential source, chiropractic care to stabilize the nervous system, downregulate the nervous system, pull the gut away from the diaphragm. And now suddenly, it's not just ADD, it's really any emotional disorder. We see these phenomenal changes. Why? Because the body is now able to break the proteins into amino acids to produce the neurotransmitters. And when you give them supplements, they're able to absorb the supplements. It's not what you ingest, it's what you digest. And they're able to digest the supplements, and we see these phenomenal changes. Then we get them on B complex, methylated B complex, because I've seen autistic children, children with brain injuries, children that are slow to develop. They can't what we call methylate. They have a flaw at the MTHFR gene. And the MTHFR gene converts, real simply put, converts B vitamins like folic acid into folate. They're able to take cyanocobalamin and convert into methylcobalamin, and you're able to detoxify the body as well. That's called methylation. And so when you give them things that don't have to be converted into a usable form, we see dramatic changes. All right, folks, I got to go. I got to wrap it up. I didn't realize I was this close. If you have any health questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com. If you're ready to take the step, if you want to become a patient of ours, let's check your nervous system. Let's check your digestive system. Let's check your diet. Go to my website, drjoe.com. Set up an appointment. Normally the first visit, $940. We've reduced that to $299, and we accept most insurances. Can't make it simpler than that, including Medicare, by the way. But let's look at the cause of the problem, not just treat the symptom. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. And the podcast, Dr. Joe for the Health of It. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Catch you next time. Wow, that was a lot. You have any extra questions for me?
Should I add essential source and super greens to my soups or other foods? Does the heat affect the nutrition?
Yes, the heat will affect the nutrition. So I'd rather you eat it not hot. Now, you can do it hot, like if you want a drink or something like that, but I prefer you don't do it hot. It's better not to do that. What else?
Should I limit my intake of citrus fruits?
No. Citrus are okay. If they're not organic, make sure you wash them with soap and water before you peel them, because you can push the toxins in there. Some people have an issue digesting citrus fruits, but you should be fine. I don't see a problem with it. What else?
What are your 3 favorite exercises?
3 favorite exercises. I like Tai Chi, and there's different exercise you could do in Tai Chi. For example, I can't do push-ups because I have a fractured first rib, and if I do that, it blows up my head and my shoulder and everything like that. And it's healed now, so it's really a challenge. So Tai Chi is really neat, but you got to keep the body in motion. So you could just swing your arms back and forth. You could do gentle squats. So I can't do heavy weights because of my injuries. So Tai Chi is great. Walking, I walk every day, and I try to get out and walk as much as I can. And then swimming. I love to swim, but I love to do it in a saltwater pool. And luckily in my subdivision, after COVID, they put in a saltwater pool. So Tai Chi every day just to keep the body moving. Walking whenever I can get outside, or even when I'm on the phone. If I'm on my cell phone, I have an earpiece and I'm walking all over the house. I'm walking all over the office. Don't waste that time. And you're going to find you enjoy the conversation more because your brain is active too. And then swimming when possible. So those are my 3 favorites. And then gardening, if you want to call that in there. I just love gardening too. So what else you got?
What are your thoughts on yoga?
Yoga's great. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. Yeah, yoga's right up there with Tai Chi. I mean, there's no need to. We here in the United States, and we beat ourselves up in the gym to try to get these big muscles. It doesn't add life quantity, certainly. It might add quality because you feel better about yourself. But yoga is a much better exercise for life extension, because heavy weightlifting and things like that really wears out your joints. So yoga's great. So, what else?
That is all.
You guys are awesome. Again, please follow me on all social media platforms. Please do that. I have no way of knowing if you're going to do it or not, but do it as a favor to me. And any questions you have, 24 hours a day, drjoe.com, and then book an appointment.